Hi there, thank you for downloading the video. Today I would like to talk to you with regards to team building. The biggest question with regards to team building is whether or not team building is worth the money. I've been asked many times by a lot of people, if I'm going to spend so many thousands of ringgit on my people, what will be the return of investments that I will get from my team? Well, of course, I would always ask the next question is, can you imagine what's going to happen if you don't do it? But the question is really valid because many times people have told me, and I also think it's true, that people do spend money on team building where everyone's going to have a good and great fun time together in a nice hotel, full of laughters, full of fun. The day they go back to work, 1 week later, 2 weeks later, everything goes back to normal. And that's when people come and tell me, hey Adrian, team building don't work because the processes don't increase, our performance doesn't get better, etc. and etc. Well, of course, it all depends on how was the team building was first created or crafted. You see, a lot of problems with regards to team building is that number one, when people actually start off the team building or started planning for the team building, they don't have a clear objective in their mind. You see, let's say if the objective is not clear, it's just like driving. If you do not know where you want to go, any road will take you there, isn't it? Number two is that they do not look at the demographics of the team properly, because sometimes if the people are not suitable, they do not like those type of activities that you have actually crafted, they will not participate fully. Number three, this is the most important point. See, most training programs or team building programs, they basically sometimes, when they say experiential learning, they put you through a set of activities and expect you to learn from there. And what they actually do is they ask you to change your behavior. Now, problem here is this. Behavioral change, it's never from an external factor, but an internal factor. What do I mean by that? Now, when we ask a customer service executive, for example, what's the most important thing that they should do as a customer service executive? They will tell you, of course, great customer service. But there are companies who has lousy ratings for their customer service, have actually sent their people for customer service training, but yet at the same time, their customer service is not meeting up to par. Now the question is why? It is because when they go for the training, people expect them to have a behavioral modification. Now, behavioral modification only comes from within. If the person has an inner reflective attitude, it also automatically change how they think, and therefore they will be able to translate into the behavior. So what do we do in team building, and how do you ensure that your team building plans is actually one that is successful? Is very simple. You need to always craft the program. Number one, it starts with the individual. Why I say the individual is very simple. Team building or the progress or the success of the company is basically an individual responsibility that yields collective results. That means I, as an individual in your team, will need to know that I'm responsible for the overall results. So if everyone takes ownership of their own role first, and then have a perspective of the whole entire company, understanding the whole supply chain or the process flow, that's when you will yield the results. That is why in the activities that we run under eEssence, we always ensure that it starts with us first. We will get the participants to have a realization as to how they actually play a role, empower them to let them take ownership as to what their roles are, and therefore then teaching them how to work in teams, because most of the time, let me ask you this question: what is the biggest challenge? Or let's rephrase it. Let me rephrase it. What is the biggest challenge that is faced by almost everyone in the society? Or I will give you another example. Have you heard of this saying, men are headlines, women are fine lines? It's a classic example that I normally use. What I mean by men are headlines, women are fine lines is that men generally give you an overall picture of an answer. Example, if you're a gentleman here listening to my video or watching my video, when you finish work and you go home and your spouse or your girlfriend were to ask you, hey, how was your day? Can I guess the answer? The answer will be, it's okay. Everything's all right. But if you're gonna ask your girlfriend, for the ladies on the example, how was your day? They'll most probably tell you, hey, this morning when I left for work, this is what happened, who I met, etc. And the day goes on. See, that's what it is. Men and women speak differently. At work, each individual communicate differently. And what you're going to realize here is that most of the time we only communicate that we think that is important to us and not what the listener wants to hear. Example, let's say if you're talking about a supply chain, the marketing department or the sales department may not communicate effectively to the procurement department or the engineering department, whichever it is. Or when they communicate, is based on their own, what we call by frame of reference, which never be understood by each party. So basically, in order for you to ensure that your team building is a successful event, number one, you need to always start with the end in mind. All right? Clear objectives are very, very important. Number two, you need to make sure that each and every one of your participants are empowered, in which that they see how their role can be played towards the whole entire bigger picture. Thirdly, they learn how to communicate with one another in an effective manner. That is why team building should not be ever conducted in a fashion in which that you get teams competing with other teams. Although healthy competition seems to be good, but what happens here is that sometimes when you put people into teams, they get back into their respective departments, the mindset of their respective departments, and they will not be able to see things in a global picture, because each and every single individual plays a responsibility towards the entire production or the success of the entire organization. So that's my tip for you today. For more information, please look out for the next webcast. Thank you very much and have a great day.